Ryan Tennant made the mistake of listening to Hillary's interview on Crooked Media yesterday. The first half was crying about mean old crazy Bernie and how Sanders didn't do anything for her after the primary. Isn't revisionist history fun? She also made a bizarre defense of her ideas for healthcare. Look, I don't want to wade into this that much, but she's on a book tour. I don't know what I don't know what motivates this. And my understanding is in her book, she actually attacked Joe Biden a little bit more than Bernie Sanders. Maybe people just like to bring up Bernie Sanders because he's a little more sexy. But here is a video that Hillary Clinton made, I guess, presumably, I think his interview with Vox. And look, I don't want to make that much of this. People know that I said before the election, I said during the election and after the election that we would be phenomenally better off with Hillary Clinton as president than Donald Trump. I think, would Bernie Sanders be announcing his plan today if Hillary Clinton was president? Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe he would announce it later in the year. He would have probably found a different strategically viable time to announce it. The reason why he's announcing it today is because we're 2 weeks away from the Republicans, the door closing on their ability to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act with 50 votes. Okay? So Bernie Sanders would be announcing it. Would he have 15 people signing on? Maybe not, because there would be more chance this thing's going to get a vote in the near term. But we would be far better off with Hillary Clinton. Far better off. But the argument that there was no difference between her ideology and his ideology was always silly. Was it nuanced? Somewhat, perhaps. Was it just practical? No. And here is her making that argument herself. Ideologically, she tells you where she is more comfortable. Now, you can say, like, I'm just not interested in that ideology. That's, of the left. I don't know who the far left is in this equation. Maybe it's Bernie Sanders. I don't know. Maybe it's a senator. But here is what Hillary Clinton argues.
If you're running a raucous, pluralistic, diverse democracy where there are literally millions of different voices, you are going to hear from all kinds of voices. I was a senator for 8 years. I bet the vast majority of people who came through the doors of my Senate office to talk to me, to advocate, whatever they were doing, were not political donors, or certainly not political donors to me. They were constituents. They were citizens. They had something to say. And so part of what we've shrunk the political process to such a narrow set of questions. And that's in the interest of both the far right and the far left, both of whom want to blow up the system and undermine it and all the rest of the stuff they talk about. I think we operate better when we're kind of between center right and center left, because that's where, at least up until recently, maybe it's changed now, until recently, that's where most Americans were.
Okay. Okay. So between the center right and the center left, so to the right of the center left is where she thinks we're best. And that's fine. She's perfectly, that is her prerogative. And she concedes that she thinks that where most Americans were, and maybe they're not anymore. And I would argue from an issue set, they were never to the right of center left. Never, ever. By when you look at polling. Now, maybe electorally, but in terms of issues, no. But I also think if that formulation was ever true, it is not true now. And, I think just sort of the argument that they were basically the same running on the same issues, that there is no difference between debt-free college and free college. There's a big difference. There's a big difference. And so I think that was helpful. And I think that is an indication of where her politics are, which is fine. But we shouldn't be unclear as to where that is.
She reminded me a bit of Tony Blair lately. Like Tony Blair's forays into politics seems to be like she's specifically staking out that centrist position.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fine. But, let's not convince ourselves. Now, with that said, the platform and her policies were certainly, I think, I would say, were center left, broadly speaking. But when Bernie's policies were not far left policies. I mean, we had free college in this country.
And that also doesn't say where Hillary would have governed if she was president, right?
It doesn't say where she would have governed. I mean, the point being that her policies may have been to the left of where she felt most comfortable, I think is the point. Now, I personally don't care what's in the heart of any politician, frankly. And I think, you build a coalition that will push them towards the direction that you want them to go. And I don't care what they personally feel about it. But certainly, it's harder to push someone there who feels like they're being pushed out of where they're comfortable. Hi, folks. Sam Seder here. We still need your help on our Patreon page. YouTube ads have come back, but not nearly as much as we had before. So if you can help us out, any little bit helps. Head over to our Patreon page right at this URL, and you'll help us keep helping you by making videos